BSL English Literature, Sherlock Holmes. The story takes place in 1894, 3 years after the apparent death of Sherlock Holmes. On the night of March 30th, an apparently unsolvable locked room murder takes place in London. The killing of the Honorable Ronald Adair, son of the Earl of Maynooth, a colonial governor यानी कि Colonel Governor in Australia. Adair was in his sitting room, working on accounts of some kind, as indicated by the papers and money found by police. He likes playing whist and regularly did so at several clubs, but never for great sums of money. If does, however, comes out that he won as much as for $20 in partnership with Colonel Sebastian Moran. The motives does not appear to be robbery as nothing has been stolen, and it seems that Adair had not an enemy in the world. It seems odd that Adair's room door was locked from the inside. अंदर से ही दरवाजा बंद था. The only other way out was to open window. खिड़की खोलनी पड़ी and there was a 20 feet, about 6 meter drop below in onto a floor bed, which shows no sign of being disturbed. Adair was killed with a soft-nosed revolver bullet to the head. No one in the area at the time heard a shoot. In April, Dr. Watson, now a widower, having retained an interest in crime from his previous association with Holmes, visits the murder scene at 427 Park Lane. He sees a plainclothes detective there with police and also runs into an elderly, deformed book collector, knocking several of his books to the ground. The encounter ends with the man snarling in anger and going away. However, it is not the last that Watson sees of him. For a short time later, the man comes to Watson's study in Kingston to apologize for his earlier behavior. Excuse me. Once he manages to distract Watson's attention for a few seconds, he transforms himself into Sherlock Holmes, astonishing Watson so much that he faints to the ground for the first and last time in my life. Contrary to the Contrary to what Watson believed, Holmes won against Professor Morality and Richenbeck's fall, flying him down the waterfall with the help of Borista. The Japanese system of wrestling and then climbing up the cliff beside the path to make it appear as though he too had fallen to his death. This was a plan that Holmes had just conceived to defend against Moriarty's confederates. Now, however, at least one of them knew that he was still alive and tried to kill him by dropping rocks down on the ledge where he had taken refuge, hurriedly climbing back down the cliff and falling the last short distance to the path. Holmes ran for his life, and by the next week he was in Florence. Holmes apologizes to Watson for the deception needed to outwit his enemies and describes his 3 years exploit, explaining that he spent the next few years traveling to various parts of the world. First he went to Tibet and wandered for the 2 years, even attending entry to Lhasa and met the head lama. Afterward, Holmes traveled incognito as a Norwegian explorer named Sigerson. Then he went to Persia, with Holmes entering Mecca, and then to a brief stopover with the Khalifa in Khartoum. Finally, before returning, Holmes spent time doing chemical research on coal tar derivatives in Montpellier, France. However, Holmes was finally brought back to London by the news of Adair's murder. During all this time, the only people who knew that Holmes was alive were Moriarty's henchmen and Holmes' brother Mycroft, who provided him with the money he needed. Holmes tells Watson that they are going to do some dangerous work that evening, khatarnak kaam, and after a roundabout trip through the city, they entered an empty house, an abandoned building known as Camden House, whose front room overlooks, to Watson's great surprise, हैरानगी हो गई उसको, Baker Street. Holmes' room can be seen across the streets, and more surprisingly still, Holmes can be seen silhouetted against the blind. It is a lifelike waxwork bust, moved regularly from below by Mrs. Hudson to stimulate life. Holmes employs the dummy because he was seen by one of the Moriarty's men, and then he expects an attempt on his life that very night. Holmes and Watson wait 2 hours until approximately midnight in the abandoned Camden House. A sniper who has taken the bait fires a specialized air gun to assassinate his foe. Assassinate means to kill for a political purpose. Surprisingly, he chooses Camden House as his vantage point. Once the ruffian shoots his air gun, scoring a direct hit on Holmes' dummy across the street. Holmes and Watson are on him, and he is soon disarmed and restrained. While Watson knocks down the enemy, Holmes summons the police by blowing a whistle. They are led by Inspector Lester Reid, who arrests the gunman. It is none other than Colonel Moran, Adair's whist partner, and the same man who threw rocks down on the ledge at Holmes at Reichenbach Falls. Holmes doesn't wish the police to press charges of attempted murder in connection with what Moran has just done. Instead, he tells Lestrade to charge him with actual murder, for Moran is the man who murdered Adair. The airgun, it turns out, has been specially designed to shoot revolver bullets, and a quick forensics check of the one that killed his dummy shows, as Holmes expected, that it matches the bullet used to kill Adair. Holmes and Watson then go to their old apartments in Baker Street, where Holmes' rooms were kept as he had left them thanks to Mycroft's supervision. Moran's motive in killing Adair is a matter of speculation even for Holmes. Nonetheless, his history, his theology, his theory is that Adair had caught Moran cheating at cards and threatened to expose his dishonorable behavior. Moran therefore got rid of the one man who could rob him of his livelihood, for he and earned a living playing cards crookedly and could ill afford to be barred from all his clubs. Thank you. Have a nice time.